Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Call the meeting of the Liberty County Board of Commissioners to order. Mr. Brown has the meeting been properly advertised.
Yes, sir, it has.
Thank you, sir. Oh, there, our friend over there. You see. All right, let us stand now, our prayer and pledge. Reverend Henry Frazier Jr. will lead us in our invocation and our pledge. Thank you. That's Frazier for agreeing to do that for us.
Let us pray. Father, we honor you again, once again, for this day that you so richly blessed us all to be a part of. And we thank you because we realize that you didn't have to do it, but you did it anyway. And now that we're here in this one place, at this one moment, God, we ask you, even as you have given unto Noah a divine blueprint, we ask you for that today for our leaders, that they might make the right decision, the right choices. And God, that you will lead them, that you will guide them, that this county, that this city will move forward. God, we thank you because we realize it don't have to be like this, but because it is, you still God and you still in control. Now bless them, give them wisdom beyond their imagination, that they might do that which is justly in your eyesight. We thank you now. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Appreciate you staying even after work to come do that for us. While I'm thinking about it, Commissioner Walden did indicate that he would not be present today, so we just make note of that in our minutes. And, he did not say specifically, but he just said he just needed to take some time, so let's keep him in our prayers today. All right. Our minutes from the August meeting need to be approved.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the minutes from our August 4th meeting.
Can you believe it's September? My goodness. Yeah. Is there a second? Motion and a second to approve the minutes. Make sure I'm doing this right, Mr. Moses, after I heard the class the other night. There's been a motion from Commissioner Thrift that we approve the minutes from August, seconded by Commissioner Stevens. Is there any further discussion? There being none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Those opposed, August minutes are approved. Thank you. Departmental reports. LCPC is coming before us. Good to see you all.
We have a variance first. Take this off for a minute. All right, so our, oh, did I do something?
No, sure, you're good.
Okay. So our zoning item today is a variance for Mr. Els Hutchings. The owner, he's requested a side yard setback variance for a shed off of Sunshine Lake Road. That's up on Isle of Wight. I'll show you on the map. He's requesting a side setback distance to be reduced from 10 feet to 3 feet. Ordinance calls for 10 feet, and he's asking for 3. The slab that the shed is built on has been there for about 20 years, I'm told. That shed in question has already been constructed. I have some pictures of it here as well. This parcel is zoned R2 for single and two-family residential and further described as parcel 25324. This is in District 1. Here is our public notification, legal ad, and sign. So this is where we are, way up here. If you look all the way down here is 84, and then there's Isle of Wight coming out of it, all the way up there to Sunshine Lake. So this is just, a top-down view. This is the property in question. So this box here is where the shed is sitting currently. At its closest point, it comes to about 3 feet off of the property line against the neighbor here. As I said before, the ordinance calls for 10 feet. Here are some pictures of the shed. You can see that the structure is already finished. There are also 2 sheds on the property which Mr. Hutchings has said he's going to remove once this is approved. There's one right here, and then there's one way in the back corner here. This is just another look on the inside. It's reinforced and everything. Narrative. I am requesting a variance due to a shed being finished. My father had started this shed before he passed away. I am just finishing said shed. There are 2 other sheds on the property. They are beside this shed. Once this shed is finished, the other 2 will be consolidated to this new one, and they will be removed from the property. Thank you for your time and consideration on this matter. So as far as our code calls for variance rules, we did not find that there was any extraordinary or exceptional condition to this piece of property. The application of the appendix to this piece of property would cause an undue hardship. We don't think so. Such conditions are not peculiar to this particular piece of property. Relief, if granted, would not cause substantial detriment to the public good. That concrete slab is pre-existing, as I said. So we took this before the Planning Commission, and they recommended disapproval of this variance.
What was the summary of the discussion at the Planning Commission that would lead them to?
There is, this variance doesn't really meet any of our variance requirements. Planning Commission didn't find that it would cause an undue hardship or that it was peculiar to this piece of property because of how it was shaped or laid out. So that was the reasoning for denial.
And I did hear you say the slab had been there for some?
Yes, sir, it's been there for some time.
Yeah. What was the previous use of the slab? It was just a open slab?
I'm not sure. I think there was a shed there a long time ago, but Mr. Hutchings is here. He can probably answer that later.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Hutchins, if you come, if you don't mind, please, sir. I'm coming to the podium where he is to give you a name for the record. and-
Sorry, Mr. Stevens, I think is it.
You want me to wait till that?
Yeah,
Okay,
if
go
you don't mind, sir.
Okay.
All right, the slab was there, my father put it there with the intentions to do the same thing. What I'm doing now is to build this shed and consolidate into one. He failed to do so after many years, his health failed. He passed away 2 years ago, and it was a promise to him before he died that I would finish the shed for him and remove the other two sheds, consolidate everything for him. This is the house that I grew up in as a child, and I moved away, and when he passed away, as he, hospital issues, respiratory failure, mother and father both, they passed away. So, like I said, the slab's been there, for over 20 years, or right at 20 years. I actually had to dig it up, clean it and everything, remove the dirt off of it and everything, just to finish this. There's a lot of time and effort, my sons as well helped build this shed as a promise to my father to finish it.
Okay. Is your question for him, Mr. Stevens, or for LCPC?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Brown, what year was LCPC established?
Oh, gosh.
I'm trying to remember.
LCPC was established in 2005.
2005. So actually, the slab was there before LCPC was established.
According to
Yes.
Mr.
Yes,
All right, okay. Mr. Chairman, I got a question for him, if you don't mind.
For
Well, Mr.
Hutchins?
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Is there any way possible to establish a privacy fence behind this, right close up to it?
I'm not understanding, say it again.
Is there any way to build a privacy fence right behind it?
Yes, there's a way to put a fence up, a privacy fence as well.
And I'm just asking the question.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Would you be willing to establish a privacy fence?
I believe I spoke to the guy that come out, I believe it was this gentleman, about putting a privacy fence up. If I needed to do anything as far as getting permits or whatnot, he said there's no permits required for that as long as it's only 4 feet in the front and 6 feet on the sides, and it can be on the property line. So,
That's correct, sir.
Mr. Chair.
All right. Were there any people against the request, the variance request?
We did hear from one neighbor, the neighbor who is most affected. I guess the neighbor who would be 3 feet from this new building, Dr. Duncan Reagan. I talked with him on the phone today. He was concerned about the height of the building. He didn't realize it would be so tall, but once it got there, then the variance came in. They felt like that it would have a visual impact on their property. They would like to have some discussion with the applicant about maybe the color choice, because it is in close proximity to their house. So, you know, if there could be some conversation between the applicant and them, I think there could be some resolution with this.
Okay. And Mr. Hutchins, are you open to that too, sir?
Absolutely. I know Mr. Duncan very well. I grew up, he was my neighbor since I was a child. And I have spoke with him on several occasions and asked him, you know, if there was any issues. He has not spoken to me since he said there was no other issues until, you know, I got a stop work notice. I haven't spoke to him since. I didn't even know that, in fact, that it was an issue. The height of the building is, like I told this gentleman here, there are gutters being put on the back of it with rain barrels to recycle the water on the back, and privacy fence as well. But I will take any, I'll let them pick the color out if that's what they want to do. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. That's not a problem. Hardy board is going on it, it's Hardy board siding, because we are on the water, and, you know, I don't have an issue with them even picking the color out, as long as it's not pink. Okay?
Green in mind.
Gotta put green, yeah.
I had a couple.
Commissioner Thrift?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be for your LCPC, but the picture here that shows the well and the gas tank, is that on your property or Duncan's?
Let me see, I can't see the picture. Those are on my property. That well on the backside with the bricks on it,
Yeah.
that's his well. That's
That's-
Duncan's well, yes.
Okay.
And the one next to it, that building right in front, next to it, that gray building, that's my well.
How about the gas?
The gas,
Tank.
the LP gas tanks, those are mine.
Those are yours, and it looks like you got a hedge in between the
Yes,
gas.
yes, ma'am.
So there's a hedge in between the LP gas and the water
Water tank.
already.
That's already, yes, yes, ma'am.
And so I guess Mr. Duncan didn't have a problem back when your dad laid the concrete out,
No, ma'am,
knowing that there possibility could be a building built there or a shed.
absolutely.
So, you know,
And they're even
I always
closer to the
hate
fence line than the.
telling people what they can do with their property, because as a property owner, I want to do what I want.
Absolutely, I
But we
agree,
have to go by the
this was
rules.
not- that was not the intention.
I understand.
My father had done this, and this is just a
Yeah.
promise to my father.
Yeah.
You know, as his dying.
You already had the concrete out, you got a
Yes, ma'am.
driveway going in there, you
Yes,
got a hedge on the back of it. Gonna knock down two sheds that
Yes, ma'am.
probably, this one looks better.
It looks
So, you know,
100% better.
I don't understand why they disapproved it myself.
Yeah.
So it's just, I think it's just an appearance issue that they have. That's the only.
That your
thing I-
neighbor has.
Yes, ma'am. I think it's just an appearance issue, but I mean,
Well, let them pine
architectural
trees grow
shingle-
on up and maybe he won't be able to see it.
Well, they got hedges on the backside.
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
There is hedges on the outside of that
Quite,
fence.
quite high,
On the, yeah, on, there looks like them,
yeah.
Commissioner Gill, you're trying to get in.
okay, go.
Well, I just had a question, Mr. Chairman. Jeff, if you know, are there any covenants out that way? I mean, is that, you know, that would dictate what color, not what color you can have, but I guess what color you can't have, and the height of it. I mean, you know, for him to be willing to accommodate someone else's
Yeah.
wishes on his own property. And, you know, like he just said, and I know he's trying to be accommodating, that he would let them pick the color. But that's not a requirement in no shape or form, is it?
Yeah, there's no covenants that I'm aware of that dictate that, but there is a zoning requirement that says he's got to be 10 feet off of the
Understand.
property line.
And he's requesting a variance for that.
Just a
And-
variance.
And that's what's before us now.
In defense of the planning commission, they went through your criteria for a variance. and
Understand.
They didn't find anything exceptional here, other than the fact that it just didn't know, and he built it there. So they understood that he's got a problem, because he's got a building already built, and it's within the setback, or it's inside the allowed setback. And so, but they felt like they had to stick with your guidelines for a variance, and therefore they couldn't recommend approval of it.
Okay.
That's the process we have to abide by. We understand. And you did very well, so now that you didn't explain it, we heard you very well. We heard you very well. Listen, I'm kind of like my commissioners, man. It's very rare we find a citizen who's so willing to accommodate the concerns of their neighbors when really, as Mr. Ricketson just said, there are no requirements that you do so, but it really, it's inspiring to hear that you say, hey, whatever it takes to make this work, I want to be a good neighbor, willing to do that.
Absolutely.
But as he did bring us back to the point, the point is, we're here for the variance now. Of course, the county, like any other body, has rules and regulations to follow, and your storage shed is a little bit too close to the property line, but that's the authority of this body to rule or overrule the decision made by the planning commission. So that's where we are right now. So I think we've had ample discussion, so the chairman will entertain a motion as it relates to this request.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we grant the permission for the utility shed to remain where it's at. And I'm going to also base it on the fact that when the slab was poured, there was no LCPC guidelines. And also, the gentleman also agreeing to put up a privacy fence and painted any other color than pink. I grant that motion.
So are you saying that he has to put up the fence, or is the hedge just going to be sufficient? The fence, you're going to put a fence up regardless? Okay. I second his motion.
Okay, motion is second. Once again, sir, thank you for your willingness to go above and beyond. Any further discussion?
Just the fact that on the motion now, we're not going to require Mr. Hutchins to do anything. All we're doing is granting the variance
Right.
that he can put it there. That he can put it there, and he does not have to do anything other than put it there.
Yeah.
The motion should probably just say that you're going to follow standard conditions.
All right.
Okay. Everything else, is whatever you work out, so you're willing to do. All right, we good? All in favor? Raise your right hand.
Just a question, Mr. Chairman, though. So the motion won't include a privacy fence?
That's totally up to him.
Correct?
That's-
Or-
Our motion's not requiring a proper fence.
I think all we're doing, Joey, is just
Granting the
variance and
With
which would
standard
allow him to do that. And any icing that he put on this cake is totally up to
Yeah,
him.
but I did hear him say he was gonna do it anyway. Did I hear you right?
Right, yeah.
All right.
Mhm, that's
okay.
what I'm saying.
That's how he feels right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
All right.
It doesn't have to.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. We have one more thing. We have the RV ordinance for you. Mr. Ricketson's going to take over. I believe you should have a copy of that in front of you. Chairman Lovett, I think you have a, with
I
the
do.
window there. That's the one you need to sign.
Chairman, members of the board, a month ago, I stood before you and reviewed the RV ordinance one more time. We've been talking about that most of the year, and we got it into a final form where you were ready to adopt it, and then I advise you under, as a precaution, to go ahead and have one more public hearing. We've already had a public hearing, but just to have another one, just to be sure that we were in conformance with the zoning ordinance. So we've advertised the public hearing. It was advertised in the Coastal Courier on August 12th. So once you hear the public comment, you're free to adopt this RV ordinance, or I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have about it.
All right. Chair, entertain a motion to go out of regular session into a public hearing for discussion of the RV ordinance.
So move.
Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. Let me go into public hearing to discuss and finalize the RV ordinance. All in favor? Raise your hand. We're now in the public hearing. Now, the advertisement you placed in the Coastal Courier, was there any response, sir?
We have not had any phone calls.
Okay, okay. Are there, is anyone in the audience who would like to speak to the proposed RV ordinance that we have before us? 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. There being none. All right. Chair, entertain a motion to go out of public hearing back in the regular session.
So move, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Second. All in favor? All right. You may proceed, sir.
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
How long have we been talking about this?
I think I first presented it to you in February, and then we kind of It's taken a while. I got interrupted by COVID.
We did.
Okay, maybe that's why it seems so long. I thought I was in about the third grade, but we've been talking
All
about this thing.
So, Chair, entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the RV ordinance.
Second.
as
And a
presented.
second, we approve the RV ordinance as presented, knowing that it may come back to us, and so we'll deal with it at that time. Okay. At least it's a starting point. Thank you, sir, for your diligence in working with this. All right. All in favor of approving the ordinance as presented tonight, please raise your right hands. Those opposed? All right, sir.
Has he started any work down there?
On the site,
Has, yeah,
Yeah, we've not heard from him since,
I'll make sure we didn't run him off,
didn't lose him. along-
lose him. I think it would do well.
yeah.
All right. It's probably a good idea, though. I'm not sure if you all would do that. Normally, just notify him that the,
Yeah, we have his contact information.
okay,
We can let him know.
okay, all
You
right.
got it?
I didn't know we passed
If
it.
you don't, I
Thank you.
can't find it, I got it.
All right. New business, the Savannah Sailing Center, Mr. Sean Register is coming before us. Looks like Ann Company.
I'm gonna take this off, it fogs up.
That's quite all right.
So, we want to thank y'all for this opportunity to come in front of y'all tonight. Y'all have got great government here. You got great citizens. Liberty County's a great place. And one of the things that you possibly didn't know, you've got the best sailing venue throughout the entire state of Georgia on the coast. And people have come from great distances to enjoy those waters of Liberty County, basically down at Sunbury. So we want to go through with y'all tonight a presentation, and I want to introduce these two ladies. They've done a phenomenal job, Carrie Rohde and Debbie Tillman. And these women, for many years, have just been, I call it, great stewards of the community. They've run about 3,000 plus kids through this sailing organization. And it's no longer Savannah, it's basically Georgia Waterstones. We've been coming there for many years. Maybe some of y'all have been down there when they have the regattas. But it brings a lot of commerce with it, economic development. Moms and dads and other kids stay in hotels. They use restaurants, and they're usually here for 2 days, sometimes longer. As this facility starts to grow, we have interest from Atlanta, the other cities in Georgia for high schools and colleges. And so we see it being used much even on a greater scale. So I'll speak again toward the end, but right now I'm going to turn it over to these two ladies. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yes, sir.
Evening.
Evening.
Hopefully I can buzz through this pretty quick and not bore you too much. So as Sean said, so currently we have been Savannah Sailing Center, and we are a 501c3. We were the organization that was put together for the 1996 Olympic Games. Initially, we were the group that ran the games, and then afterwards, we were set up as a small community sailing center. Our mission has always been to bring this sport to people that otherwise would not be able to be involved in this sport. We currently run a really small lake operation in Lake Mare in Savannah. And for probably 12 years now, I was going to say 10, but I think it's 12 years, we've been operating high school sailing out of Sunbury. The things that we currently do, we have a summer Catch the Wing camp, which is 8 to 18-year-old kids that come down during the summer, and a summer guppy camp. And basically, we teach them, the guppies we teach to be comfortable around the water, although I will say, in the last 2 years, a lot of those kids actually, by the end of the first week, are in a boat sailing, which has been something that we really didn't expect they would get to that point after a week. We do Saturday lessons, and Saturday lessons are primarily adults However, we have had whole families come down and participate. We do a middle school and elementary program, and that was really kind of spurred on by our summer camp. The kids were having such a great time and learning, and we had parents that were like, gosh, you need to do this all year long and, you know, keep this thing going for our younger kids. We have, we've always done a high school program, so it was kind of, we were missing the whole year of the little ones. And so we started a middle school, elementary school program, and that's been full for the last several years. We have U.S. Sailing Level 1 instructor courses that we have at our facility, and mainly that teaches the instructors. A lot of our high school kids, a lot of our college kids go on and take the instructor's course and we employ them, become our instructors for all the other programs. One of the big things that we do, and actually probably our favorite event that we do every year, is a regatta for children with autism. And it's funny, every year I think we call it a regatta. It's really not a regatta. It is a day when autistic children and their entire families can come down and get on the water. We take them for sails. Our high school kids and our college kids get involved and take them out for sails. And we have an entire event that goes on land as well, with all kinds of arts and crafts and things that they can do on shore, because some of them aren't as comfortable on the water. It's our way of giving back to that community, and we get all kinds of feedback from that group, especially from the parents who say, you know, we can't take our autistic children anywhere where somebody's doing something for our entire family. It's usually just for the autistic child and one parent. Our high school sailing. So our high school sailing is where Sunbury has really come into play. We've run for the since 2006, I believe, high school sailing out of Sunbury. We've had, you know, probably as many as 31 kids, I think, was the busiest year we had, and usually we run about 25 kids through there every year. High school sailing, the regattas are what is bringing people into Liberty County. When we run 2 regattas a year, and when we run those regattas, you've got about 150 to 200 people coming to your community, where we're needing hotels, you know, places for everybody to eat and things of that sort. We've run 2 district championships, which have brought people from as far away as the Virgin Islands, the entire state of Florida, all the way up to North Carolina, coming into our area to participate in our district championships. And in a minute, I'll tell you a little bit more about college and high school sailing. So high school sailing, you can see, you know, these are the schools that have been real active up to this point. And locally, we've had SCAD have a team, we've had Savannah State have a team, Georgia Southern currently has a team, and inland, UGA and Georgia Tech also have college sailing teams. This is something that goes on across the United States. It's not just in our little area. You can kind of see the green is SASA, and it's high school sailing is set up just like college sailing. So the South Atlantic Interscholastic Sailing Association for high school is the same for college across the country. What we're trying to do, what we've been trying to do for a very long time, is have a home where we can grow other programs. The reason you see Georgia Water Sports Center is we don't want it to just be sailing. We've got so many other things. There's a lot going on in sailing, but we've got so many other things we could be offering a community. STEM education for youth. And there's a little short video at the end of this whole presentation that I don't think is going to work, that I was trying to show you. U.S. Sailing has for years had a STEM education program that they've set up, and there are many other places across the country that have set up STEM education for kids where you're actually getting into the classroom, you're working with teachers, there's courses that science teachers can take and then incorporate in their classroom and then bring the kids out to a facility to be able to continue STEM education. And it's everything from the wind, speed, and direction to, you know, the angles on a sail being math-related. You know, I think U.S. Sailing has something like 300 modules right now that they're using all across the United States. Sailing for the disabled has been something we have not been able to do. And it's being done all over the place. And really, Sailing for the Disabled and the Wounded Warrior program kind of go hand in hand. And that's where they've taken, I mean, I've been to many, many regattas at many different locations around the United States where I'm walking next to somebody who, you know, has prosthetic legs and is walking up and can compete just like everybody else. The boats can be fitted to, you know, you have lifts that lift them into the boat. And once they're in the boat, you know, there's mechanisms that you can give these sailors to be able to participate. So these are all things that we would like to see in our community. We would like to see able to, you know, we would like to be able to provide. Special Olympic sailing. Special Olympic sailing is done all over the country. You take a high school student and you put them with a child that, most of them in Special Olympics are Down syndrome, but there are other disabilities as well. I think they're even doing autistic children at this point. And there's regattas all over the country, and the kids travel together, and it's just a really neat program. Corporate team building, sailboat and kayak rental, boater safety courses. You know, we can go online and take all the boater safety courses we want, but there's nothing really around where people can actually come down and hop in a power boat and learn. And here, I think it's even more important than many other places because of our tidal swing, because we, you know, it's just more difficult to operate a boat with 8 feet of water moving every 6 hours. And there isn't, we haven't found anything that takes people and gives them that education. Powerboat operation courses and rowing and crew. And it's funny, usually where you find sailing programs, you find rowing and crew, because when there's no wind, all of the people that enjoy the water are rowing, and when there's wind, they're sailing. So these are the things that we'd like to bring to the community.
Debbie.
Okay.
So, I'm Debbie, and why develop a facility at Sunbury at the public ramp, where we've been doing this for the past 10-plus years? We needed a permanent footprint for developing other programs.
Could you hold that microphone closer?
Oh,
I can't quite hear you.
I'm sorry.
Just
Is that better?
bring it over a little bit. I can't.
Like
There
that?
you go.
Is that better?
Good. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so doing Savannah Sailing Center in a lake, you can offer certain programs, but you can't expand what you're doing to offer more for people that learn how to sail. Basically, we're teaching learn to sail. So being down at Sunbury, this area is phenomenal for sailing, and I would invite any of you to come down and watch or get on a safety boat with one of us and watch the kids when they sail, because it is a lot of fun. Not only sailing, but kayaking and canoeing, rowing, like Carrie said. Those are things that some people are doing down in that area, but not having a permanent footprint makes a difference. Basically, what we do is we load stuff in cars and vans and bring boats. We do have sailboats down there, but we bring safety boats because you have to have a safety boat on the water whenever you have anybody in any of our boats. We want that learning center to be able to do those things. Coming out of the heat, as all of us know here, is really nice when it's a hot day. And then the environmental awareness. Our kids every day at camp this summer, from 5 years old to 18 years old, to our instructors, to myself, go out around that lake and pick up trash. And we teach those different things to the kids because it's important for them to learn that at a very young age. And then we talk to them about what lives in the water and why it does and how good it is. And so they get an environmental awareness, and that's something that's very important to us in the sailing community. It's an unobstructed pathway for the natural sea breeze. So if you've ever been out there on that fishing dock in the afternoon, and all of a sudden you see from St. Catherine's that sea breeze come across, well, to a sailor, those kids start yelling and hooping and hollering because that's the fun part of sailing. And we need, down there, we need larger boats. We can't do Wounded Warrior or adaptive sailing without bigger boats, and you can't do that truly in a lake. Easy access to 95, we're in and out of there in a matter of minutes, from Richmond Hill to Savannah to Augusta. You go down 95 and coming off exit 76, you're right there. It takes no time at all. The economic development for Liberty County, all I can say is that not only high schools and colleges, we've been asked to do the U.S. Sailing National Symposium, but we don't have a facility to be able to do that. That would bring people from all over the country to our area for them to see what is happening here in Georgia. And there's no other body of water that is good for sailing in our whole coast of Georgia, except this area. A lot of people have said, oh, why don't you come to this river or that river or whatever? But the sailing, it's a river, but it's a bay of water, and it is phenomenal. And that's why we would love to be there. And then the history of Sunbury. It was one of the first seaports here on this coast. And that's something that's very interesting, along with the Olympic legacy. This just shows you some of the sailing centers in the southeast. And as you can see, there's nothing in Georgia except a little community sailing center in Brunswick, which they do a wonderful, wonderful job, but it's not a public facility like what we would like to do. And then
This slide is primarily, so Fort Adams up in Newport, Rhode Island, they started, I think, about 25 years ago. And I just put this slide in because I know you guys have a copy of it. They're worth at least looking at. They're doing today what we would love to do in the future. So it's just kind of one of those places that has done a really good job at it, and they have just grown and grown and grown. I talked to them today. I benchmarked with a lot of the sailing facilities that you saw on that last slide, and I talked with them today and asked if they could share with us their economic development numbers. So I'm hoping that I'll have some of that information from them, if they could tell us, how they started and, just give us what it has meant to their economic development.
So basically, we would have a business structure. We have a very small board right now, and we are a working board. There's only 5 of us, and of course, we would add additional board members, and hopefully we would get state and local government people involved as well. We would like to have a certain number of employees, and then our partnerships. So developing a plan is important, and that's why, one of the reasons that we're coming to you all. So in phase 1, which is now and next year, we would like to have a landside building, basically on the property down there by the public ramp. A building with classrooms, a conference room, locker room, storage, septic area, and boat racks that we could actually conduct a lot of our STEM education, our summer programs, regattas with people coming from all over. We will want approval to use the property. We have talked to DNR and for a written agreement, and then obtain the permits that we need with local and state government. And then we want to go after the funds to be able to do this. So basically, we're looking at the Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Act, corporate and individual donors, and then there are many STEM education grants that are out there. We took it into a couple more phases just to project for the future. After phase one, we'd like to do phase two, which is actual construction of the project, and then establish funding for ongoing expenses, buildings, boats, administrative costs, maintenance, insurance, those things that a lot of times don't come in the grants when you apply for different things like that. And then the third phase is to develop a waterside dock system, putting in a dock that would be handicap accessible, that we would be able to have a lift to be able to put our wounded warriors and disabled people to get in, actually into the boats, because what we have right now, would not do that. And then a ramp for small sailboats, kayaks, canoes, or rowers. Right now, we have the one dock system for motorboats, and everybody shares the one dock system. Basically, this is our building that we've proposed. We have made some modifications to it. And just reiterating, basically what we want to do is we want this to be a public water sports center for Georgia. We want STEM learning, boat education, sailing, kayaking, and disabled sailing, environmental awareness, and talking about the history and how to revitalize the traditions of Sunbury, which is one of the first seaports.
Before we take any questions, I want to give you a little history of the property down here we've been using. The property was owned by Gene Brogdon, and he was so gracious. He's always been a nautical guy, a boater, and what have you. He would volunteer. He would let us use that house, use his dock. He would even let us use his power boat. He was usually, if he could make it, he was there. And I did the same. I'm not a sailor by any way, but I've sure learned a lot by watching those kids. But he was so gracious in doing that, and then the last hurricane flooded the house and took away the dock. We've still been able to operate. We bring in basically portable restrooms when we have a regatta and things like that. And basically, Gene agreed to sell the property to the state of Georgia for about 25% of what it appraised for. And he wanted this sailing to still continue in doing so. He had a big heart. He believes in it. He saw what it produced. So with that being said, that's where we are today. We've had several discussions with the Department of Natural Resources. They're very interested in this, especially even the STEM education part. We want Liberty County to be a part of this in a very big way, through your school system participating, for your residents participating. And before you ask that question, we're not here today asking for any money. We're basically asking to show you this that we have. We've been there, where we are now, and where we want to go. And I served on the CRC board for 10 years. Great organization. Run by that gentleman over there. And basically, we're going to be applying for a grant. And we think, in our opinion, that if a government entity helps us with that grant, as maybe a flow-through or pass-through or whatever could be worked out, it would be very beneficial. The community's got a lot to get out of this. And we're going to expand it, and we really want y'all to be a big part of it. It's an amenity for every resident here, whether they're a child or they're an adult. And there's nothing else like it. We've gotten so many comments. people come from Charleston, they said, man, this is fantastic. So much better water here than what we're used to. And the people from Lake Lanier come down. They've never had to worry about a tide on Lake Lanier. They've never had to worry about a current. And I remember years ago, many years ago, I was a lot younger. Johnny Cole, y'all remember him with WTOC? I loved his tagline, and I'm going to borrow from it. Kids, get hooked on sailing and not drugs. It really will make an impact on the young people of this community. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them.
Yeah.
Do. Let's start with Commissioner Boyle, and we work our way around.
I have some. Yeah, I remember about probably 7, 8, 10 years ago, I met a couple of young ladies down there. Y'all had a dream to do this.
They're still young.
Golly, y'all look younger now than you were then.
Old Pat.
Sometimes kind of thinking, but I do have some concerns about, now, this is a fishing community at Sunbury area. I mean, that's the primary thing. I don't know about the sailboats. I don't know how y'all got plans, and I'm gonna get that you can answer it. I don't know how you're gonna work this selling, because I don't want to disrupt these people fishing, especially the ramp. You know, it's limited on space. I don't know how that's gonna work. I guess y'all got all those things worked out, or you say, hey, we're selling, y'all deal with it later, because we've been fishing down there for 100 years. The ramp, now who's paying for this? Is this private, or is this government, or who's paying for this?
Right now, this is private.
Who bought the Morgan House? I'll say Brogdon, used to be the Morgan House.
The
Who bought
Department of
that?
Natural Resources bought it.
Who bought it?
DNR.
Department, DNR.
DNR bought that
DNR bought it.
for this purpose, for y'all.
They basically, we went to them with this plan.
Yes or no? I mean, they bought it for y'all, for the selling?
They bought the whole property, and their plan is to expand parking for the general boating public. So that parking area, and I don't think I'm saying anything out of turn, am I, Joey? That's gonna be expanded. It's gonna take up at least more than half of the land that was purchased by DNR. And also, in a recent meeting with the DNR, there are plans to add another boat ramp lane. They could almost double what it is. Now, that's
So
probably,
DNR purchased this just for the selling, for your
No,
organization?
no, not just for our organization.
General
I
public.
mean, who owns the structure? DNR.
The structure is gone, the house is gone. The house was basically, it wasn't able to be renovated.
Right.
So the DNR demolished the house, and they're in the process, I think now, of removing the old pilings and,
Right.
you know, and what have you. But it was not purchased specifically for us. It was purchased 2 reasons. Number one, it was a very good deal, price-wise.
Well, it sounded like the house wasn't much to it to begin
No,
with, so
but-
you're basically buying
The
land.
property. You're basically buying that property, that
Yeah.
waterfront property.
Right.
We've had no problems with any of the neighbors around there when we hold these regattas. We're very cognizant of the fishermen. When we launch our boats, I mean, we're probably taking 20 minutes, 25, and then they're out there all day long. So that ramp is open for fishermen to launch their boats and to retrieve the boats. So we've been very cognizant and very polite in doing so.
Right.
Sometimes if we see them pull up, hey, go ahead before
Right.
we start launching all these. It's a quicker process to launch these sailboats than it is a powerboat. You have little dollies and all these kids, they can launch 2 or 3 at a time, and usually we'll have a dozen boats out there sailing.
Yeah, and I'm thinking probably sailboats, but.
Right.
You're talking about 20-foot sailboat or
No,
shorter?
what, shorter than that,
Yeah, yeah,
15 feet.
yeah. Okay.
And there's no engine to
Yeah.
worry
I just
about
want
trying to
everybody
crank.
to kind of work together down there, not be a confusion.
That's what we've done.
Right.
We have worked together for as
Yeah.
long as we've been down there. We've never had any problem with any.
Right.
With fishermen complaining at all to us, or us, you know, getting frustrated at all. I mean, we've had I mean, I'm the biggest one that's in the coach boat, and when I come up alongside, we have that little tiny floating dock to come up alongside with, even with the coach's boat, and there's fishermen on there, and I have not run over them.
And but they don't actually fish on the dock too much. They do fish some there, but I'm just talking about people going in and out and
But it's been-
trying to get in and out of the ramp.
Yeah, we've never had any crosswords or
Good,
anything.
good.
Usually I'm coming
That's
up
great.
there, and they're, I'm watching their lines to make sure I'm not going over their line. And 9 times out of 10, if it's a situation where I can't get alongside, they'll reel theirs in and I'll say thank you
Yeah.
and, get out of their way.
And both fishermen they're polite. I mean, they're courteous to each other.
And I think what we're proposing to do kind of helps the fishing community, because when you have power boat courses and things of that sort, that helps the young kids kind of learn how to operate a boat on
Yeah.
water that's running.
Yeah, learn the markers and how to read the,
And-
yeah.
Exactly. I don't think it's us versus them or vice versa. I really think we're, when you're a steward of the water, you're a steward of the water. I don't think it matters whether you have, an engine behind you and you're going
Gotcha.
fishing or you're going out for a sail.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I know y'all been working on it for a while.
Yeah, and actually
It's been a while. You've had a dream and it's coming, it sounds like it's coming together.
Does DNR require you all to have an MOU with them?
They are requiring us, yes, to have a MOU with them, and we will get into some legal arrangement with them to solidify the lease, yes. Already discussed that with them.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm kind of like Commissioner Boyle. My concern after hearing you present was how you would work with the fishermen so that both, if I may say, communities could be served. But if you've been successful in doing that thus far, then
And I would imagine as time goes on, you could have a fishing leg of this too, where, if there's two fishermen that are interested in teaching young kids how to go out and fish. It's all stewardship.
yeah. How often are you all there? How often would you be there? How often would you all be there? Just once a month, once a Saturday, once a week? How often?
If we have a facility there,
Yeah.
probably 5 or 6.
Continuously? Okay, okay.
And the other
Okay.
thing that I do want to bring up as far as working with the people down there is we've had a good relationship with a lot of the neighbors. So when we do regattas and things like that, so that we're not taking up the boaters' parking, they allow us to park our vehicles in some of their lots that they have up the road. And it's been wonderful. And so.
Including Sunbury Crab.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's what I was saying. Most of the people, they're courteous to each other.
Right.
Yeah, and we're very
Don't
thoughtful
want
of
to
them
cause
too.
confusion on this. but,
Right, so we've
they're
worked
good
with
people.
them, and they're used to it. We have a couple of neighbors that.
They have our
we-
phone numbers.
They
so-
have our phone numbers, they let us know what's going on. We bring them flowers and thank yous and things like that because they've been so gracious to us. So it's working together, and
Some of them have actually even come out and helped us with regattas, which has been really fun. To have them, because, running a regatta, you need safety boats. And a lot of them are curious as to, wow, this is kind of cool, what's going on? And so we've had a lot of neighbors come down.
Yeah, I'd be interested, you mentioned Rhode Island, I'd be interested in hearing that report. I'll share this with you. This commission, this county really has been very cognizant about the development of the Midway area, that part of Liberty County. So I could see where this could fit based on what you tell me that the folk in Rhode Island have done, and maybe perhaps that happening in Midway. But also being very cognizant of what Commissioner Bowden said, that everybody's able to work together. Everybody got to work together, yeah. We don't want you to have an adverse effect on it. It must be a positive effect on what's going to go on down there. And I did like hearing what you said about working with the school system. I didn't hear you mention the Chamber of Commerce. That's another body, a group we need to work with also. Because if we're going to promote this, we need to promote it in the right way, and that's what the Chamber does. So I would recommend,
We didn't mean to leave them out.
yeah, I recommend
and
that
any
to you.
recommendations you have for who we need to reach out to
Yeah.
that maybe we're not thinking of would be very welcome.
Yeah, yeah. Now, talk just a little bit more, grants and other funds that's going to be your source of finances.
Yes, and we are dealing with some foundations.
Okay.
Some, private office foundations too.
All right.
And that was very instrumental in the fort you saw up in Rhode Island. They had some very nice donations from people, possibly that needed some tax breaks. And since we're a nonprofit, what a better way. So we're going after some of that too. But, it's been going on there for a while, and we don't think we've upset any fishermen, neighbors. But like I said, it will be more operation, but a lot of that will be classroom. Basically, that building is going to be a teaching. And a lot of that will not, later you'll get the on-the-water experience, but a lot of that will be a classroom.
You won't have, Jerry, there won't be any needs of county services other than basic services as far as?
No, sir. I mean, the restroom facilities were put in. They may need to be expanded later, but they were put in as part of the DNR upgrade. County facilities, maybe, refuse, trash pickup, but other than that, no, sir. And on the grant portion, and that's the reason Mr. Burns and those are here. So it's my understanding that the grant that they're interested in going after does have to flow through because of the way they're organized. The Georgia Stewardship Grant would have to come through a county for administration. So it would have to, actually say go to us, but probably the county would need to administer that grant. Remind me how much the total phase 1 project ballpark?
500,000.
About 500,000. So the Mr. Steele, this thunder. The minimal amount, as they'll go through those grant specifics with y'all, the minimal amount that you can request under the grant is $500,000. The criteria for the commission, if they desire to apply for the grant on their behalf, would be they would need to cash flow that money up front. It's a totally reimbursable grant from DNR. So again, probably we would have to have an agreement with DNR too on some aspect of the property in order to be able to apply for that grant. We're working through those, or can get those answers. But that's the reason Mr. Burns and those are here with a couple of quick slides on the grant for you, so you can kind of see how that might piece together. There is a match requirement on that, and they propose to cover the match requirement.
Okay.
So I think what they would be seeking is a phase.
I'm already thinking about grant management. Is Alan going to cover that too?
Yes.
Because I can hear Kim McLaughlin in my ear saying,
Well, yes, I mean, so I think DNR.
Either you or he.
I think CRC is talking about applying for that, again, let them speak, but I think they're
Okay.
talking about applying for that. They'll do one piece, the management. We will still have to keep, we'll have to do the financial reconciliations and all through here.
and there's compensation for that.
No, sir, there wouldn't be any compensation for the financial piece. It would have to be done. There's a grant management, probably portion of that DNR grant that would go to an entity for administration. We haven't looked that deep into it, to be quite honest with you.
All right, because I'm hearing your finance director talk about.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, I understand. I'm hearing that
About
too.
all these grants she has to manage now and all those
I'm down
accounts.
into the different weeds of that, and maybe we ought to let them speak
All right.
Yeah, Mr.
on
Chairman,
those
I have
exact grants.
one question. I guess, Joey, Mr. Chairman, Joey, would our recreation department play any role in what's going on down there?
So I think there are opportunities for that. I mean, obviously, to be able to work with the program to encourage the youth of the community to go down there and use that. Once it's up and running, no, sir. I mean, Recreation Department wouldn't have to run it or do anything like that. I think it would be more of a feeder system, probably working with the school systems to try to get folks into that program.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Burns, you want to come now? And
Yes, sir. And I'm Al Burns. I'm CRC Executive Director. And I'm mainly here, I want to introduce Eric Landon. Eric is our Planning Director. I know he's met some of y'all. And Eric's going to go through that. And then we're here to answer any questions y'all may have. Once he goes through this, I hate these things. And then we'll be here to answer any questions. Eric?
Hi, I'm Eric. I know some of you have helped facilitate the retreats that you guys have had the last couple of years. And let's see. I'll just run through the basics of the Georgia
Please do,
Stewardship
Eric.
Program. I think we have there's a different slideshow for us, Joey. Here we go. All right, we're up and running. So the DNR has an annual grant program that pays for projects like this. It's called the Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Program. The money comes from sales tax on outdoor and recreation equipment. So there's a competitive annual funding cycle for those funds. We don't know how much those funds will be because they haven't yet allocated all those tax revenues. So what effect COVID has on it, I'm not exactly sure. But to be an applicant, you have to be a qualified local government, a state agency, or a certain nonprofit. In this case, Liberty County would be the applicant because you are a qualified local government. So as far as the formal applicant, that would be Liberty County on behalf of the organization. And then, yes, the funding would be cycled through Liberty County. The minimum amount is $500,000. The maximum amount is $3 million. There's a 25% match. And again, this is a reimbursable fund. So the money would have to be designated up front and paid for, and then the DNR would reimburse those costs. And it's a 2-year grant cycle, so you would have to fulfill all the promises made in the grant application by the end of year 2 of your agreement. It's a tight timeline if it's something that you want to pursue. As you can see, the pre-application is due about 6 weeks from now on October the 16th. And in order to do that, it would take a large commitment on part of the county. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of this is something that you want to pursue. We would love to help you fill out this application and be a part of the project, but it would require some commitment on your behalf. And that's
Okay.
the end of the slides if you have any.
Good job.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
go back on what you said about the match, the percentage.
There's a minimum 25% match. Now, the more match you provide, the more points you get in the grant application. So if it were 50%, you would get more, 75% you would get. But the minimum you have to put in is 25%, and that can be cash or in kind. And I believe Sean mentioned earlier in the presentation that that was something that their organization was.
They could take care of.
They're going to take care of the match. Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, let's say you got a $500,000 grant, and that money would go to do what exactly? I mean, would it go to what, to improve the docks down there for storage, or
The
what's the
building.
$500,000
Build it.
if you got that grant, and if the county, were participating?
I'll let Sean answer that.
Okay, Sean, you're up.
We would use that money to build a building and maybe upgrade boats and things of that nature. That
So you working on the boats, or you working on
The
that
building
area?
is the
I
main-
mean, you're not working on,
The building is the main structure that needs to be built.
yeah.
They need an office and a teaching.
Room.
But I'm just trying to get this in my mind.
Right.
I know the location. The structure's gone. You're saying with that money, you would take it to build something for your organization.
Right.
So nobody else could use it other than what you allow.
Well, it would be available for use for other people, but it just wouldn't be wide open
Okay.
for the general
All right,
public to
I'm
come in
just trying
there.
to get this in my mind, what's going on. I understand. Good deal. Okay.
What was this, was there a square footage on the building, or have you gotten that far yet?
We're at 70 by 40, so it's 2,800, be the upper floor. Now, we'll use the downstairs, it'll be built on a pier system, so the downstairs, we could also use, it just wouldn't be an enclosed other than restrooms and showers for when we have kids there to take, regatta and what have you.
And it would be a 2-year cycle, so they have 2 years to get the building on the ground and get it
Yes.
built and that type of thing?
Correct.
There's no doubt, I think that this is something that the area could use, and the growth and
Mr. Brown,
what it would
so
bring to the
we would have to
community.
front the money?
We would, and it's retained until project completion, so I wouldn't think, again, without digging into the specifics of the draws and stuff that you can make on the money, I wouldn't think the construction of that building would take an inordinate amount of time. There'd be some things that would go on with the site work, there'd have to be improvements and all. All in total, I mean, what are you thinking of, a year for construction?
You could probably do it even less than that.
Okay, yeah, so I think you'd cash flow the money for a year, probably year and a few months to get it cleared out. And I think probably if you decide you want to do that, you know, what we would do is obviously say out of the recreation fund, but in the splosh side, not necessarily out of recreation, we would use that splosh money that could be used for that, because it's recreation based, to be able to float that, or general fund proceeds. I mean, you know, it's up to the board what it wants to do there.
Okay. October 16th is your, all right, so we need to ponder this fairly quickly then, if we're gonna make this happen. Let's see, when can we get the economic impact analysis back from the folk in?
They were supposed to call me this afternoon or tomorrow, so.
Yeah. I'm wondering, you know, we have a mid-month meeting, Jerry, how does it work for you? And do we need anything more from Alan and his group? That's not is that too soon? You're gonna help with the application, so we don't have to do all that paperwork. So either we look at mid-month September, or the first meeting in, October, that's really pushing it.
We would definitely need to be able
Mid-month.
to be running by mid-month.
Yeah, 2 weeks, basically.
Some of the application exhibits do require action of this board, though. For instance, there's a resolution as part of the application, and a financial commitment letter, and some other paperwork as far as like site plans and budgets and that type of thing, which Sean and his folks will probably handle, but there are some required exhibits from the applicant, which would be the county.
And so if we're thinking about the 16th, and we're putting all this in the head right now, but, you know, if the board wanted to and felt comfortable, certainly could do whatever they want to do tonight, but if not on the mid-month calendar, then those other things actually are due at time of pre-app, and so we could actually do those in the first meeting in October. Any kind of board action that was required, just got to go with the submittal, and have that done at that time.
I'd feel more comfortable doing that. Yeah. If that consensus of this board, just take a little extra. I mean, it sounds real good, I can see where we, if I may say, a blessing to the county and to you all, but I'd just like a little more time without just rushing right into it. So let's try to bring it back for our first Tuesday in October. All right, but anything you can get to us before that time, please get it to Mr. Brown.
Well, yes, I think, Mr. Chairman, we'd probably come back if the board could go ahead and take action by resolution in the mid-month.
Okay.
Or state its desires in the mid-month at least, either way.
All right.
And then that way,
Gotcha.
we got time to get the economic analysis, we got those times to get that out. We can actually run some more details on the grant, have some specific target dates. I'd really like to establish some milestones
Okay.
that go along with those submissions. And
'Cause I don't want to do, you know, it sounds good, but I don't want to do anything to adversely impact our operations either, so.
No, sir. Then we'll reach out also to DNR to talk about the specifics of whether we've got to actually take title to the property, although it be briefly, or through the duration of the building, or how that's going to work. Sometimes they require that the recipient be at title to, or have a lease agreement.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Any other questions?
Any other questions from the commission? All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sure appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Everybody got their marching orders? All righty, proposal, HVAC East End Complex, Mr. Mosley.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, back in early spring, one of the units, one of the big units went out at the East End
Mr.
Center.
Is somebody on the phone?
Or you could just stand up here and,
Yes, sir. we can-
Yeah.
I can't hardly hear you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, back in April, one of the big units at the East End went out, and Mr. Martin had to rent a unit to be there for our elections. And so we sent this project out to bid. We've actually had to do it on 3 separate occasions, and basically, I kind of begged some folk. A couple of the people had bidded on the Schuman Center, and we were able to get 3 RFPs. If you look on the attachment, those were Mark Plumbing and Mechanical out of Savannah, the site company out of Statesboro, and Coastal Cooling here in Allenhurst. Three of us, we reviewed the project, and you'll notice the bid prices there marked was $46,880, site company $51,862.22, and Coastal Cooling at $35,000. We reviewed them according to the criteria, and based on the highest score of 81.33, the committee would like to recommend to the board to award this contract to Coastal Cooling of Allenhurst, Georgia, this contract.
One thing I can say, you're not the highest score on everything.
They got better.
Tapered yourself down there a little bit, didn't you?
Y'all beat Jerry up, didn't you? Now, this Coastal Cooling, Mr. Brown, have we done business with them before? Ms. Moses, you may know this is from your eval. Have we done business with Coastal Cooling? I know
We
it's
have, yes, sir, and it's been very favorable.
very favorable.
Okay.
And there's a great difference in that bid. Y'all notice that?
I did know that. That's quite a bit
I want to
different.
make sure that they're able to do the work.
Is this the Schuman
guess it's
Center or
travel-
East End?
East End,
Traveling expense.
East End.
It said Schuman Center, and I was.
They had worked there
confused.
before. They use, go ahead.
We were saying, Commissioner, that when this was actually the third time we put this project out to bid, and some of the vendors who had bidded on the Schuman Center, I asked them to come back and bid on this project.
He's trying to get some help.
Yes, sir, because we weren't getting any bids on it.
And which facility is this one for?
This is actually to replace the broken HVAC unit down at the East End Center, the community center down there. The large room, the big room
Room,
down
the
there.
meeting room, I guess?
Yes, ma'am. And I will tell you, Mr. Chairman, note the difference in those. The mechanical engineer's estimate for this project was in line with Coastal Cooling's. So I think the others are just high.
Just how?
They really are.
All right. We better jump on it then.
Make a motion?
Chair, entertain the motion.
Yeah, I make a motion that we entertain a contract with Coastal Cooling, $35,000 to replace the unit at the East End Complex.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second that we approve the bid from Coastal Cooling, the amount of $35,000 made by Commissioner Stevens, second by Commissioner Thrift. Motion being on the floor. Is there any discussion?
This red numbers, is that a red flag, or is that just letting you know that's the lowest bid? Because I've never seen that before, Mr. Brown.
He just made it.
Let Mr. Mosey
He
answer
got a
that.
new-
That's the
new
red
sheriff in
flag, that
town.
it is the lowest. It's the recommended.
Okay. All right. All in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? All right. Put Coastal Cooling to work.
How soon will that be able to get started, Mr. Brown?
Commissioner Stevens, we'll have to touch base with them. They indicated, I believe, on their process, did they have 60 days? I mean, it not only was the cheapest, it was the shortest. So I think the biggest lead time is going to be just getting that unit on hand and the crane rental that's required to place it. We'll double check and we'll let you know.
Okay, that's fine, that's good.
Personnel policy change.
Yes, sir. This is precipitated by the 24-hour shift for your firemen on how they accrued monthly and yearly leave. It is ratio-wise, without walking through the calculations, consistent with how the base on full-time starts. So, yeah, we went through a lot of process there with Laura and Joseph and I to look at how that base started to have a consistent mannerism. It's kind of complicated to say. We took full-time 8 hours and we expanded it to 24 based on the same ratio.
168 hours, how many weeks is that? 4 weeks?
That's 40.
40 hours in a regular week. So
40.
40.
40 something. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's about 6 weeks.
Not a lot.
Well, so here's the deal. I'm not gonna say it's not so much about weeks, but it's about the shifts they work. And so as you look,
Paid?
sorry,
Do they not get paid?
they do.
Okay.
They do.
I just make it
Mhm.
out and open.
No, I understand. No, it's a good question. Is that those shift hour people, for instance, even on a 12-hour shift, they get more than the 8 hours because in order for them to earn a shift off, it costs them more to take a shift off than the 8-hour people, obviously. So what it really equates to, if you're talking about 6 weeks, it's only an average of, a couple of shifts. Yeah, it's like 7 shifts a year. They can only be away from work.
That's not a lot.
That's what?
7 shifts off a year is not a lot.
It's really seven, yeah, it's really 7 day, it's really 7 of their work days off is all it is. It's one of their weeks per year, is what it is.
I was just thinking about these other people working. I don't know what our regular county employees get. They get
Yes, sir, that is.
kind of hours.
I've struggled for a way to explain it, and you hit it. What we were after is to be equal. And so your 8-hour people, this table gives them 1 week off per year. Your 12-hour people, for them, 1 week a year. This table for 24-hour people gives those people a week a year. So they're all consistent.
Okay.
That was very important. The way you put it's perfect.
All right. You need us to vote on that, sir? You approve
Yes,
that?
sir, please.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the annual leave revision
For the 24-hour shift person.
for the 24-hour shift.
Second.
Motion and second, we approve the 24-hour shift annual leave as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? All right, sir. Resolution of the CARES Act. We've heard a lot about that lately.
Yes, sir. So I think y'all are aware, we were able to get the second 70% into the hopper, and at some day we will tell you about all the heartache that, I know Ms. McLaughlin went over it a little bit, that cities and counties faced in trying to be able to apply. But we did do that. This is a housekeeping item. It's required as part of that process of receiving and keeping the funds that we adopt a resolution authorizing their receipt. And that amount that we have received is $1,021,303 as reimbursement for COVID-related expenses.
You trying to find if we want to keep it or not?
I make a motion, we approve the resolution
it.
for CARES Act.
Second.
Motion and second, we approve the resolution for CARES Act. Thank you guys for the hard work on that process. I can tell from a lot of information that a lot of counties were really struggling cities with that whole
What's the amount, Joy? What'd you say?
process.
$1,021,303 is the total that we were able to draw down
The
that was
small print
allocated
on
for
there,
us.
Gary.
Okay.
All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, thank you, sir. ACCG voting delegate.
Yes, sir, it's that time of year again. Of course, all of it's happening in virtuality now. To be able to vote on the 2021 policy agenda, the board just needs to designate someone to be that person. And it will need to be voted on computer-wise, virtually.
Okay. I know sometimes, Commissioner Stevens, you've done that, or either been you or Mr. Brown, so I'm open to, as long as we have a delegate.
Doesn't matter.
You gonna do it, Mary?
You do it? Okay.
Need a motion?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, please.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we, Commissioner Stevens serve as the ACC voting delegate.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion and second, we have Commissioner Stevens to serve as the ACCG voting delegate. Any further discussion? All in favor? Those opposed? Commissioner Bowen, you voted in favor? I know you did.
Okay.
All right. Any announcement before we go into executive session?
Just that Island Station continues to be on track. Windows are supposed to be delivered. It'll be climatized. Overhead doors are supposed to be delivered this week. Finally got the main switch boxes in, which were back ordered because of COVID. So all that's in place. It's still right on schedule to be completed. And we have started to put out the bids, or will tomorrow, for some Lake George Station renovations that are necessary to hold the sleeping crew down there. And then when we hire those next shifts, they will go into that station.
All right, I apologize. My schedule did not allow me to attend the ribbon cutting for Isle of Wight. I owe those people a visit. And I'm going to go get a little tour of the station at my earliest convenience. So thank you all for covering for me for that. Thank you, those of you who were able to go. Nothing else for good order? Chair, entertain a motion to go out of regular session into executive session for personnel.
So move.
Second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? We're not going to executive session to discuss personnel. I'm sorry. Go. Chair, entertain a motion to come out of executive session in the regular session.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor? With nothing to report, chair, entertain a motion to adjourn.
All right. I'll see y'all. I'm going out the side door here. I
All
got-
in favor?
See y'all later.